point out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello everybody, this is Energy Week and welcome to it. I am George Harvey and this is the amazing Tom Fennell in the flesh. Every day I get up and go to the internet and look at the news on energy and climate change. And you know, I was thinking about this last week. Maybe I mentioned this last week. I look at about 25 or 30 articles for every one I put up a link to.
You've mentioned that in the past.
Yeah, and that, if you look at the number of articles I put up, which is actually on the blog, and do the calculation, that means I've probably looked at 750,000 headlines doing the stuff that we talk about on this show. And that's a lot. Anyway, I get up and I do the look at news, look at on energy and climate change, and everything that I find, or most things that I find interesting, I put up on the blog. Each item has a synopsis and a link to the original, and I get 10 to 15 of these every day, usually 15. And the ones that are the best wind up being on this show. The blog is geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com. If you go to it and click on the calendar, or just scroll down because you'll get it. You can click on the calendar for the date that we're talking, the date of the show that we're talking about, and then that'll show you 10 to 15 articles, and you can choose among them for the one that you want to see, and you can go to the original articles that we talk about on the show. We're starting on the 27th of September.
Let's just say something more.
You go ahead, Tom.
I read, of course, all these articles that we're talking about on the show, and some of these are very comprehensive, in-depth, and interesting.
Yeah.
And I'll try and mention them to you because they aren't all, and they're not all interesting to everybody.
That's right.
If you see me in the background looking at a deer in the headlights, I'm actually looking at the monitor, which I am
controlling.
Using this mouse to control the cameras
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I'm not just sitting here like a bump on the log.
Yeah. Tom is not a bump on a log.
I'm going to get back to George here.
You know, this is not a matter of one of us having brains and the other having beauty.
Well, I want you to touch that one.
Okay, let's get out of that
Well,
one.
we got a picture coming
We're
up
starting
here, so let's
on the
start with the
27th of September. We have a picture of a solar array in Burlington, Vermont. And we have an item from Inside Climate News.
Clean energy's future could rise or fall with 36 governors' races. This is on the button.
Yeah, absolutely.
This could happen.
There are 36 races involving governors in the United States. Some of the most consequential elections for climate policy this fall could be the 36 governors' races where a blue wave could position clean energy advocates as a significant counterforce against the Trump administration's fossil fuels agenda.
Against all of the Trump administration.
Well, you know, this is an interesting thing because the Trump administration is following the lead of the conservative Republicans who have been talking about states' rights for years.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, no, the federal government shouldn't be in the business of deciding who wins or loses, and we should leave it to the states to do what they're going to do. And the problem with that is the states are not going to follow Washington's lead on this, except for a few of them. So we can guess that if Democrats win the governor's races, those states are going to have more action in favor of renewable energy.
Kind of ironic, isn't it?
It is, but you know, the Trump administration was also saying we don't want to be choosing winners and losers, which is
not true.
It's the old thing that the Republicans have been saying for years, and now all of a sudden they're treating that as though it's not part of the agenda at all. They want nuclear and coal and possibly gas all to be winners. And
Money talks.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. It's
well, a little takeaway here. Several of the Democratic contenders have 100% clean energy commitments.
yeah,
Okay, so there's a little bit of a difference there.
yeah,
And they support ambitious renewable energy standards, net metering incentives and stuff like that.
yeah.
And we could see a lot of changes.
Yes, we could. And in Vermont, we could see big changes because Christine Hallquist is an energy engineer who, you know, I think electrical engineer, but she was involved.
Yeah, she was running a utility.
She was running one of the small utilities in Vermont, which was in desperate trouble when she took over.
And she turned it
and
around.
she turned it around so that instead of having a BBB rating, it wound up having
Vermont Electric Co-op, I think.
I think it was a Vermont Electric Co-op. And one of the nice things about Vermont is that if you want to, you can meet these people, you know. So I've met.
You can. You can walk into the governor's office.
Yeah, almost. I've met Christine Hallquist on 2 occasions, both in Brattleboro. And, you know, I mean, we're not exactly close to Montpelier here, and the Vermont Electric Co-op is at the other end of the state. So, anyway.
They used to have a branch of it in Windham County.
Did they?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was East Dover.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They sold it off because somebody was playing games down there and skimming.
Well, they must have sold it to what was it?
I think they sold it to Green Mountain.
But yeah. Anyway, we shouldn't.
Yeah, I think they sold it to Public Service, Central Vermont Public Service, and
right.
sold it to Green Mountain.
Yeah. Okay. Our next item is from The Guardian.
Aha! South Australia's Tesla battery on track to make back 1/3 of costs in a year. Now this is, all of South Australia is a Tesla battery.
Well,
pretty close to it.
This battery, I think, is still the largest battery in the world.
It is.
Although it's really small compared to the Northfield Mountain storage facility. The United States has got more energy storage than any other country by far.
You mean in gross amount?
Yeah, but it's all pumped storage. I shouldn't say it's all pumped storage. It's, a lot of it is pumped storage. Yeah, this is from The Guardian. The Tesla lithium-ion battery in South Australia is on track to make back 1/3 of the construction costs in the first year of operation, new financial documents show. The capital cost of the 100 megawatt, 129 megawatt hour battery was 90.6 million Australian dollars, which is 65.8 million US dollars. And this is something that I find absolutely fascinating. We will get farther on with the costs of batteries in another article. But I want to point out,
we're going to be talking about batteries.
We are. I want to point out here that if you rate the cost of this battery in megawatt hours, it comes out to
generate the capability of megawatt hours.
This battery cost 65.8 million US dollars for 125 megawatt hours, which comes out to just a little bit more than 50 cents per watt hour.
That's way better than half price than anybody else.
Wow, it's mind-boggling where this is going. We'll get back to that. You got
well, this article's got some nice pictures on it.
Yeah,
if you like that.
Yeah.
And it's the world's largest lithium battery.
Yep.
It cost $66 million, but generated over $9 million in revenue in the first 6 months of 2018.
And it saved the ratepayers a lot of money.
It's paying for itself.
Yeah. It's paying for the investors and it's paying for the ratepayers.
Yeah.
That's important.
Okay.
Australia is a place where ratepayers are paying very high rates
They have high prices of electricity.
High prices of electricity, and they're not happy, and a lot of people are switching to solar. It
Well,
has
it's partly because of the way Australia grew and developed.
yes,
You got a town, nothing for another 100 miles, then another town.
yeah, and somebody's got to keep up 100 miles worth of utility wires,
Yeah.
wires just to keep some town with 200 people in it.
Well, what's happening now is they're all islanding.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the future of Australia is definitely going to be distributed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it. I think it was in Queensland, we mentioned before that a third of the households have solar power.
And they're doing it without government subsidies.
Yeah, okay. Our next item is from Clean Technica.
Utility solar plus storage accelerates ahead of expectations.
Mind-boggling. The U.S. utility market for energy storage this fall is warming ahead of expectations, with requests for proposals accelerating from mild demand level a year earlier. The 2018 market was not expected by some energy storage system manufacturers for at least another 2 years. So we're way
Money's
ahead.
talking.
Absolutely.
That's just what I was about to say. The key reason for the growth in the utility plus storage is that the two technologies together offer 20 to 30% energy gain.
Yeah, but you know what? This thing that happened in Australia really proved a point that a lot of people aren't talking about. Battery backup makes really good sense for coal, for natural gas. It makes really good sense.
Explain, please.
Well, here's the deal. You have all kinds of reasons why you can have a sudden fluctuation in the amount of energy that's available. For example, you could have a tornado, and it could rip 20 large utility pole structures out of the ground, which is what happened in South Australia 2 years ago.
So it's not available.
So it's not available for days. But when a thing like that happens, and you've got renewable energy, this Hornsdale Power Reserve battery,
There in a battery somewhere.
it's a big
Flip a
battery,
switch.
but it happens to be right next to a wind farm, a big wind farm. When that happens, all of a sudden you've got the capability to fall back on that. And we saw that a couple of weeks ago when basically the eastern half of Australia went down. The grid went down, and 2 states out of the 4 that went down kept having power. One was South Australia because of the Hornsdale Power Reserve. The other was Queensland because a third of the people were on solar power. But the thing that failed was the connection between the big coal plants and the grid. And when that happens, battery backup is important.
Going to be more and more so, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later.
Absolutely.
Well, we got another picture coming up.
We do, and we're up to Friday, September 28th, and there's the picture.
Let's get that picture.
This is a neat little place off the coast of this is in the
I've got the picture, but here it comes.
I forget whether this is in the Inner Hebrides or the Outer Hebrides. I think
It's in the Hebrides.
It's one way or the other. It's off the west coast of Scotland.
Now that picture there is called unscur, which I think means the nose.
Okay.
And it's on the island of, and there's 4 different pronunciations for it: egg, eeg, eig, and ika.
Well, I always call it egg.
G-I-G-G. E-I-G-G. You pronounce it the way you want.
Egg, yeah. Well, I'm not gonna pronounce it orange, you know, but nevertheless. Okay.
Off-grid communities, and we've talked about this before.
Yes, we have.
We've shown a picture of that.
A picture of that same
nose.
Nose, yes, in the background. The mountain.
Off-grid communities, and it's not just about egg. They're using renewable energy to live independently.
This is from Power Technology. According to the CE Delft's report, and this is the name of the report, the potential of energy cities in the European Union. By 2050, almost half of European Union households could help to produce renewable energy, with off-grid communities contributing 37% of this amount. So they're talking about big distributed energy systems and little distributed energy systems, but a lot of energy coming from them.
That's exactly what they're talking about. They're building communities
Yeah.
that are able to operate by themselves.
Yes. This picture of egg, by the way, is notable because it's we see two wind turbines there.
I think that's all they have.
It might be. Egg is a small island. It has a small population. There are not a lot of people there. It's out in the. It's basically in the ocean, and what had happened in the past was that these people did have electric power. They had it
done by diesel.
It was done with a diesel, and the diesel couldn't run 24/7, so they had electric power for some number of hours each day if things were going well. And when they put in those wind turbines, all of a sudden the diesel could be used for backup. And that's what they've been doing. PSE&G, New Jersey's largest regulated utility, has a $4 billion plan to make the Garden State greener and advance the state's bid to become a clean energy leader. Its 6-year plan, Clean Energy Future, that's the name of the plan, aims to reduce both the costs and the emissions associated with energy.
Well, most people don't know this, but coming closer to home, PSE&G is supplying clean power or clean energy to Greenfield.
Greenfield, Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's an option.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's about 2 cents kilowatt hour cheaper.
Is it that much? I didn't realize it was that much. But I did know that that in Greenfield, you have to opt out of renewable energy if you don't want it, and it costs more.
And and people are doing it. Not very many, but
not very many. Well,
there
there are people in this world who will complain about anything. Okay, is that all with that one?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our next item is from Clean Technica. We have a graph here. I put the wrong graph on the website, and Tom sent me an email that said, "Is that the right graph?"
Wasn't making sense.
And I said, "Well, it's the one that came with the article or something like that." And he said, "I think this is the wrong figures," but he was right.
This is the right one now.
This is the right one, and basically, this is a graph that shows the expected expansion of the electricity market. And I want to point out that dark band that runs across. It's on the top on the left side of the graph, but it's close to the bottom on the right side of the graph is hydro. Everything below that is nuclear and fossil fuels. Everything above that is non-hydro or renewables. Global market analyst DNVGL peeled back layers of a recent forecast on global energy source evaluation to show that solar and wind energy will grow, buoyed by offshore wind, to represent nearly 70% of the global electric production by 2050. And
it's only 20% now.
Yeah, I have a problem with the graph. And the problem that I have with the graph is basically what you're seeing there, the kind of, I'm a little bit colorblind, so maybe I'm going to give it the wrong colors, but that reddish bar that's below hydro, that is...
that's oil, isn't it?
I think that's nuclear.
It is.
And then everything below that, the bottom light colored stuff.
That's oil.
Yeah, the dark blue is gas and the light blue is coal. And I think all of that is going to fall far faster than this graph shows when we get into the 2020s.
It's certainly flowing.
Yeah, but you see the problem, Tom, is this, and this is something that people don't back me on. You know, the people who are the economists and so forth think that I'm wrong when I say this, but I kind of wish that they'd look and see what happens. If you can imagine, people start buying electric cars, right? The demand for gasoline goes down. What happens? Well, in a town like Brattleboro, in a town like Brattleboro, we have a bunch of gas stations, and some of them are going to go out of business, and people are going to have to drive more to get gasoline.
To get the gas, yep.
But basically, what happens is the decline in demand will mean that the people who are supplying the gasoline, the retailers in town, are going to have to ask for a bigger markup in order to make money.
Yeah.
And the wholesalers are going to have to ask for a bigger markup. And the people who do the refining are going to have to ask for a bigger markup. And the people who do everything in the whole chain, everybody is going to have to ask for a bigger markup because the infrastructure that they already own is going to have to be abandoned, just like those gas stations in town.
Stranded assets.
Stranded assets, they're going to have to pull back, but in order to stay alive with a smaller market, they're going to have to increase the amount of money they make in gross profits per unit sale, which means the price of gasoline, the price of home heating oil could go up because the demand is going down. It's exactly the reverse of the price and demand ratio that you would expect in a market that's level or growing. And you know, when I explain it to people, they seem to kind of get it. But I've said this in articles in Clean Technica, and the comments that I get is, no, you're wrong. And I don't think that they get that. Maybe I am wrong, but you know.
Well, a little takeaway from the article. All the disruption we're seeing in renewable energy, including energy storage, is being driven by declining costs.
Yes.
It's going down.
And
they give an analogy here, which I can relate to. It's sort of like the cost implosion in LED lighting.
Yeah.
10 years ago, an LED bulb cost $20. Now it's $2.
Actually, you can get them for less than $1.
You probably can.
And you know, but the thing that I liken it to is the decrease in cost in computers.
Yeah.
You know,
most people don't stay on top of it.
No, but you know, I've mentioned this before.
But we've bought light bulbs.
I'll mention it again. If you go to Wikipedia, you can see an article called FLOPS, floating point operations per second, FLOPS.
Flops, like megaflops.
Like megaflops and gigaflops. And you know, as a computer engineer, we worried about flops when I was you know, working with, because the job I was doing was focused on high-speed mathematics. I was flopping around. And the price per gigaflops in terms of the ability, the computer to do a gigaflops.
Oh, you've talked about this on this show.
Was like $57 billion in 1961. Today, in the Wikipedia article, they say it's 3 cents. So from 157 billion to 3 cents.
That's quite a drop, isn't it?
That's quite a drop. And this is why Jeremy Rifkin, for example, says that he thinks energy is going to be free in the, and you, I think, agree with him on that. I do too.
It could very well happen.
Yeah, it could happen.
Very well happen.
People would give energy away in order to get some kind of benefit other than money. Yeah. And the benefit would accrue as, for example, an ability to sell a product, which means they're making money, but they're not making money on the solar power, the electricity, the whatever. So the market is changing, and the companies that are sticking with coal are going to run into trouble. Okay.
Well, moving along here, it's sort of a different view on the whole, on the same thing. The inevitable oil supply crunch.
We are up to Saturday, September 29th, and we've got an item from oilprice.com, and it starts with the warning signs are there. The industry isn't finding enough oil. We talked about this in the past. That statement is the start of a new report from Wood Mackenzie, which concludes that the supply gap could emerge in the mid-2020s, I think it'll be before that, as demand rises at a time when too few sources of supply are coming online. I don't think the demand is going to rise. I think the demand is going to go down.
All of the indications are that you're right.
Well, we've got these items about Tesla.
Now.
The Tesla. Tesla's taking over the automotive market in the United States.
At least the high end of it.
The high end. I saw a group of, and in fact, I don't remember whether it's part of this week's report or if not, it'll be next week. I saw the top 15 sellers in August in the United States in cars, all types of cars.
Okay.
2 of them came from the old Detroit industries, both of them from Ford.
Okay.
The number 3 or number 4, and it's hard to know which it is yet because we haven't finished getting the numbers, is Tesla. Tesla is the only American manufacturer that's selling a lot of cars in the United States. And if you take the two Ford vehicles and put them together, they have about as many sales in August as Tesla got. So what do you say about that?
Well, I think Tesla's riding a wave, riding the bow of a new wave. Really.
People are beginning to switch in big numbers to electric vehicles. What's that going to do to the supply to the demand for oil?
Well, the times they are a-changing.
They are a-changing. Yep. Okay.
Speaking of which, the next one coming up is electric cars equal the future.
Yes.
Otherwise known as gas-mobile killers.
Yes. And actually, we've got a graph for this one.
We'll get it
the graph shows one of the several reasons why the electric cars are the future and they are gas-mobile killers. Are the days of the gas guzzler numbered? Tom Rafferty, via Forbes, says, quote, 7 reasons. There are 7 reasons why the internal combustion engine is a dead man walking, end quote. He explains, quote, the move from internal combustion vehicles to electric will happen sooner and more quickly than most people expect. This is an article in Clean Technica, by the way. And you can see it, there it is, the decline in the cost of batteries. And that right-hand most bar for 2017 shows...
That's 200.
That's about $200.
Yeah. And we were already talking about $60.
A little over $50 for that huge battery that was put in South Australia. I'm sorry, I'm not saying the graph is wrong, because this is supposed to be the market as it exists, and it doesn't include 2018. And that battery came online just as 2017 was ending. But there you see it. And as the price of these things goes down, the price of electric vehicles goes down. And, you know...
Well, there's a lot of reasons why electric vehicles make sense.
Yeah.
And they're going to make more and more sense as we develop better battery technology,
yep,
which we will talk about later.
And we're going to talk about that in the next article, as a matter of fact.
And eventually, it's just going to make sense.
Yeah. Our next item is also from Clean Technica.
Oh, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. Zinc air battery ideal for grid storage. And just before you get to talking, it's powered by oxidizing zinc with oxygen from the air.
They just keep doing this, you know. Compared to most lithium-ion batteries, Nant Energy's zinc air batteries offer a lower power and longer duration. The company says its batteries, which rely on abundant and inexpensive zinc, are already at the $100 per kilowatt hour level.
And we just talked about 200.
Yep.
And 60.
And that price is expected to drop as production increases. You know, you've said it. There's a lot of people out there who are coming up with good ideas.
I said in different words, but I said exactly that.
And
this is one of them.
This is one of them. And we don't know whether this is going to be a winner on the market or not. Every once in a while I see these things come up and they actually don't make sense.
I would bet my money on this.
I would bet my money.
This really has the ring to it.
Yep, it does. It does.
I mean, these things are dirt cheap to build.
Yep.
They can put them anywhere.
Yep.
They make them as small as hearing aid batteries and as big as bulk storage.
Yep.
And car batteries are in the middle somewhere.
Yep.
And they got them.
Yep. Okay, we are up to Sunday, September 30th. We have a picture here.
A picture here, yeah. What the heck is that? Oh, it looks like a flood, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? And
I gotta get the picture up.
This is from the Japan Times, and it's the Japan Times.
Japan.
That's not Japan. No, that's from Hurricane Florence. I think that's probably North Carolina. But the Japanese...
It's South Carolina. It's Dillon, South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Which is right near the border.
Oh, yes.
And that's the PD River that overflowed.
PD? Is that?
P-E-E-D-E-E.
PD. Okay.
Named after an Indian tribe.
Okay. What do you got for a title?
UN report under review presents nations with tough choices on climate change.
The world's nations will gather at a UN conference in South Korea on Monday, October 1st, to review and approve a 20-page bombshell distilled from more than 6,000 scientific studies, laying out our narrowing options for staving off a climate catastrophe.
Well, we're seeing all of these things happening.
Yep.
With the global warming just under 1 degree.
Yeah.
And they're shooting for 1.5. And as of now, we're way over that. We're not going to hit the 1.5.
It's extremely
and
unlikely.
Basically saying that unless we do something drastic, we're in big trouble.
Yeah, and there are things that are drastic. Actually, I met a young woman, and I've unfortunately forgotten her name, who is running for Senate from Windham County, where we lived. Mm-hmm. And she is an independent, and she, you know, if somebody local is interested, you could go to the municipal website or in whatever town you're in and see, you know, by looking at a sample ballot. She's on the ballot, running for Senate.
I've seen her post her lawn signs.
Yeah. She told me that one of the things that she's really worried about is geoengineering. And the things that she's worried about with geoengineering, I think, are real problems. But this is a different kind of I think we're going to be doing a different kind of geoengineering in order to deal with climate change, which might include turning desert areas into forests.
We talked about that.
We have talked about it, yeah. Okay, should we go on?
Earth is presently on track to heat up by an unlivable 3.5 degrees centigrade or more. That's 6 degrees for us guys, man.
Yeah.
By the century's end. That's too much.
That's devastating. People don't realize what that could mean. You know, they just
it could
they don't
mean
think
in
about
the
it.
summertime, instead of 85 degrees, it's 91 degrees.
Well, what it actually
But
is
it's worse
probably
than that.
going to mean is that in the coldest winter nights, it could be 15 degrees warmer. And the coldest winter nights are the things that kill pests.
Like ticks.
Like ticks.
Yeah.
Which is why today we have ticks all over the place around Brattleboro.
Which we never had before.
When I was a kid, there were no ticks around here. Ticks were things that they had in Pennsylvania, you know. Now there's a bunch of different kinds of ticks. They showed up when my kids were little, and you know, now we've got Lyme disease. We didn't have that, nobody worried about it.
Yeah.
Okay, should we go on?
Yeah, we should.
We have a report here from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette.
Don't bother to fight climate.
Oh my gosh. Deep in a 500-page environmental impact statement, the Trump administration made a startling assumption. On its current course, the planet will warm a disastrous 7 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 4 degrees Celsius, by the end of the century. But the paper...
We can't survive that.
Oh, no. That would destroy our civilization, yeah. I believe. But the paper justifies reduced transportation fuel efficiency, saying that it won't help.
Yeah, no sense of bothering it. It ain't going to do a bit of good.
Yeah, it's not going to do any good. By the way, this brings to mind a question that I got several weeks ago from a person who said, how do you know the sea level is rising and the land isn't subsiding?
Well, it's both.
Well, it is both in many places, but I looked it up.
Yeah.
The sea level rise, if you look up ocean level rise and you look at NASA sources, you can actually find a map that shows how much the sea level has changed in what direction worldwide. And they have got it, they believe, to less than 1/4 of an inch.
So they know exactly what's happening.
They know exactly what's happening. And this is from NASA satellites that are measuring the average height of the ocean by laser.
Okay.
And they've got, and you know, if you think about the United States and you think about the world and you think about what portion of the United States Rhode Island is, that's kind of analogous to the portion of the world where the sea level has gone down a little bit. Because it has gone down
in some spots.
In a spot in the Pacific Ocean. Anyway, if you think about the size of New England relative to the size of the United States, including Alaska, that's about where it hasn't really changed.
Well, we'll be talking about it a little bit later, but later on, there's a talk about mass migrations.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a map. I don't think we have it to show in our backup here, but it clearly shows that people are moving away from the coast, moving into inland cities.
What's going to happen to Donald Trump's seacoast properties?
Oh, he'll sell it before it goes on.
Yeah.
If he can find somebody to buy it.
Yeah, well, he can find them. They're in Russia.
Yeah, right. That's interesting.
Yes, and they've got reasons
The
to...
implications of that are enormous.
Yes. Okay, should we go on to the Fort Wayne Journal
Well, a quick takeaway
Gazette?
from this article.
Okay.
With this administration, it's almost as if this science is happening in another galaxy.
Yes. Okay, now we get to the Fort Wayne Journal Gazette.
Okay, yeah, we got another
Oh, we
picture
aren't
coming
at the
up
Fort
here.
Wayne Journal Gazette. We're at the Eagle Tribune.
The Eagle Turbine.
Eagle
Tribune.
Turbine.
The Eagle Turbine.
Yes, right.
Here's a guy in Massachusetts is walking around with a gas
Mask on. This is a child. What do you got for a title?
Disaster could be a turning point in the energy debate.
Arguing that money would be better spent shifting to renewable energy, environmentalists have been prodding Massachusetts for years to move away from natural gas. The recent gas fires and explosions in the Merrimack Valley have renewed debate over the use of natural gas. We reported on those fires and explosions last week.
Yeah, it was big news last week.
It was big news, but this is
the
follow-up. This is a picture of a boy who is out in the neighborhood after a bunch of fires happened, and the neighborhood is not, the air is not nice to breathe.
Mask.
Yeah.
Well, for those who are uninformed like I was, the Merrimack Valley is north of Boston. It's not Boston proper. It's Lowell, it's Lawrence, and it extends up into New Hampshire to Nashua.
Yep.
And actually goes all the way up to Concord.
Yeah.
Okay, and the article says, and this is what was really happening, Massachusetts has some of the oldest gas lines in the country with leak-prone cast iron pipes. They put gas in there back in the 1880s.
That was town gas they used to have in the 1880s. They manufactured the gas out of coal.
And the pipes, in order to replace those pipes, it's going to cost $9 billion.
$9 billion.
Now, they're figuring out where are we going to get the money. And some people are saying, don't get the money, forget about gas and go renewables.
It's cheaper to put in renewables and not have to worry about the gas. Okay.
Well, the governor is with you here. He wants the state to pursue hydro, solar, and wind to meet the energy's needs.
Well, they've got a lot of offshore wind going in.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. It looks like a whole new industry for Massachusetts.
We are up to Monday, October 1st, and this is Commonwealth Magazine.
The many faces of climate denial.
Well, here what they're saying in this opinion piece is that Massachusetts is not doing quite as well as we had just said. While North Carolina state legislature mandated a wholesale denial of the problem of climate change, Massachusetts state government adopted a different form of climate denial that is arguably just as pernicious and even more widespread. Massachusetts government is denying that the problem is as grave as it is. Now, do you believe that, Tom?
Ray said I don't.
Yeah.
Mass leaders are soft-pedaling a dire problem, suggesting that we can afford to wait over 50 years to solve it is merely a more politically acceptable form of denial.
Well, I don't think that's what they're saying, really. What they're saying is that we have a long time to finish moving away from it. I don't think we do. I'm with you on that. But the thing that happened in North Carolina is that they said you're not allowed to take into account rising seas when you're
We talked about that last week.
We did. And
it's not happening.
It's not happening.
Stop.
Yeah, right. King Canute.
What was that, King?
King Canute.
Canute, yep.
Went down to the sea and said, stop coming into the tide, and it didn't work.
Didn't work, did it?
We should move on, Tom.
Yeah, we got a good one coming up here. Got another picture.
This is from the BBC.
Yeah. BBC's usually got some pretty good articles.
Very often, yeah.
Matter of fact, anything that comes from a broadcaster usually is good. CBS, ABC, meaning Australian Broadcasting.
Yes.
Well, the people are building a greener future.
That picture is...
There's an office building in Barcelona.
Yeah.
And if you look at it close, there's trees all over the place.
There's trees all over the building. They're up on the roof, they're on the balconies.
And this article has a whole bunch of pictures
of
buildings just like that.
Constructing new environmentally friendly buildings is expected to generate more than 6.5 million jobs by 2030, according to the predictions of the International Labor Organizations. Following energy, building will be the second fastest growing sector for green jobs in coming decades. I don't know that I think that's true, because I think that we're still going to have a huge number of people who are employed retrofitting houses, putting in insulation, putting in windows that are better than they were, at least changing the windows. But you know, it's an interesting thing to see.
Well, I think you're certainly going to see what you're talking about is weatherization, weatherization improvements for existing buildings.
Yes.
But more and more of new construction is going to be this
Well,
way.
I think you're right about that, and I think there's going to be a lot of people, architects, people in construction and so forth, who specialize in this particular kind of thing.
They call it green building.
Yeah, I could be the architect. I could be the guy the carpenter. You know, the guy in construction, the guy who owns the construction business that specializes in planting trees on balconies.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's pleasant to live under.
Yep.
Can you imagine stepping up on your balcony and having apple trees?
Well, I'll tell you something. We've got fig trees.
Yeah, you do.
And citrus trees. I've got 3 different species of figs and 4 different species of citrus, and of those, 2 of the figs and 3 of the citrus are old enough to bear fruit. And the fig trees were delightful. 2 fig trees we had bearing fruit. And they are exactly the kind of thing that you could put in a pot on a balcony and just have there.
So you take it in the wintertime?
Well, you might not have to in Barcelona. I don't know how cold it gets in the winter. The fig trees lose their leaves in the fall. The citrus trees, you know, don't know. They don't know how to do that, but the fig trees do, and you want to cut them way back because they don't bear on old wood.
Okay, so you need new buds.
You need
keep getting new figs.
To get new figs, but we had very nice figs this year.
I bet you did.
Yeah. Okay, move on.
Yeah, let's move on. I didn't quite understand this article, but maybe you can help me.
Okay.
Vermont's energy efficiency utilities under inspection in new investigation.
Well, the investigation isn't a criminal investigation or anything like that. They're just looking at well, let me read this. Almost 20 years after Vermont became the first state in the country to start a separate energy efficiency utility.
What's that called?
Efficiency Vermont.
Okay.
Yeah. With the creation of Efficiency Vermont.
Bingo.
Members of the state board are now re-examining how energy efficiency utilities operate. This is from VT Digger, and basically all it means is that they're reviewing what what Efficiency Vermont is doing. But Efficiency Vermont is called a utility in Vermont.
Yeah.
Even though what it's doing,
got the status of one.
Yeah. Even though what it's doing is saving energy, not creating energy.
A penny saved is a penny earned.
That's right. Okay, let's move on to Tuesday, October 2nd. And we
do remember Efficiency Vermont running around peddling LEDs, light bulbs.
Absolutely.
Giving them to you for $2 or so when they were $20.
Yeah, it was really helpful.
It was.
Yeah,
absolutely. I bought a bunch of them.
Okay, our next item is October 2nd from Clean Technica.
Another picture coming up.
We do. And that is a picture of the inside of the Gigafactory where they're making cars. They also make batteries.
So that is a Tesla.
Yes, being made.
Tesla is 2 years ahead of schedule on Gigafactory 1.
Tesla is often criticized for slipping on targets, but The Gigafactory 1 in Nevada is solidly on track to achieve a battery production volume of 35 gigawatt hours per year by the end of 2018.
That's a lot, by the way.
Well, just think about this. The biggest battery in the world is 139 megawatt hours per year, and they're going to have 35 gigawatt hours per year. That's a lot of batteries.
Well, I'll touch base on that one.
Yeah. This is 2 years ahead of the original 2020 target date that was set to achieve such volumes.
Well, this gigafactory is located in a desert,
Yep.
20 miles east of Reno.
Yep.
The gigafactory will be the biggest building in the world,
Bigger than the
as well as
Pentagon.
the highest volume battery plant,
Yeah.
and entirely powered by renewables, mostly solar.
Yeah.
They produce more batteries in terms of kilowatt hours than all other car makers combined.
Yes.
So they're putting their money where their mouth is.
This is not just Tesla, by the way. This is Panasonic, too.
They're in partnership with Panasonic to make the batteries. Yes.
You keep hearing about Tesla, but Panasonic is
It's their technology.
involved in this.
You know, Tesla provided the money and the place, but Panasonic's providing the expertise.
And they are, by the way, constantly looking at new technology.
Oh, yeah. Tesla is achieving remarkable goals to accelerate the move towards sustainable transportation and energy. Well, they are.
Yep. Okay, our next item is from Daily Energy Insider.
Consumers Energy energizes drive to electric cars and renewables.
This is
Michigan, yeah.
Michigan. Michigan utility Consumers Energy is stepping on the pedal in its move toward more EVs and increased renewable energy in the birthplace of the automobile. What does this tell you?
Well, they don't make too many automobiles there anymore.
The company is teaming up with General Motors to speed a shift to EVs in their home state. General Motors was not even represented on that list of the 15 most highest selling car models.
Well, they just picked up luxury models, but they didn't mention Cadillac.
They didn't mention, but the list of 15 that I mentioned earlier was all kinds of cars, all kinds of cars. And the only luxury car that was on that list was a Tesla.
Okay.
And, you know.
We're talking about two different lists.
Yeah. In a list of 15 highest selling cars in the United States, General Motors was not even represented at all.
That's interesting.
Tesla was, Ford had 2 models, and the rest of it was foreigners, although the cars were probably made in the United States. Okay, should we move on?
I'm just trying to see, is there anything that, yeah, their clean energy plan is to cut carbon emissions from the power plants in the next 2 decades. Well, in 2016, they retired 7 coal plants.
This is Consumers Energy.
Consumers Energy.
Yeah, they're retiring.
The company will be replacing its gasoline fuel company cars with electric vehicles.
Well, you know, under the Trump administration, coal plant retirement has slowed down from what it was under the Obama administration.
There aren't too many coal plants left to retire.
That's the thing. If you look at them as a percentage of the number of coal plants out there, it's just as fast as it was.
Yeah.
And nothing is being brought online. No new coal plants have been brought online since Donald Trump became president. And none is going to be.
It's economics that's doing it.
Absolutely. And there's none scheduled to come online except for, I think it's 17 megawatts, which is, I mean,
not very big.
Not very big. It would maybe supply Brattleboro, but not much of the rest.
That's about right.
Yeah. Okay, our next item is from CNBC.
Well, we've talked about GE in the past.
Yep, we got a picture here.
Yeah, we got a picture of it, and there is a guy building turbines.
Yep.
In General Electric. The problems at GE's troubled power unit can't be fixed quickly.
Okay, what happened here was GE fired its CEO. General Electric's board ousted CEO John Flannery, but the problems at the heart of the power business defy a quick solution. At the core of the problem is its failure to forecast a downturn in demand for its turbines and booming demand for renewable energy.
They've made a lot of big mistakes like this recently.
They have, and as a matter of fact, I think it might have been the Heartland Institute or the Cato Institute or one of those organizations which is funded by the Koch brothers, but they had a headline that said GE was in trouble because its directors had made a bad bet on renewable energy.
Well, that's true.
But the bet was against renewable energy.
Yeah,
and if
yeah,
you read
yeah.
their article, you say, wait a minute, why does the headline makes it sound like they lost on renewable energy? They didn't.
Well, this article just barely touches base on it, but they
Yep.
just bought a French company that makes turbines.
Yes.
And it's a loser right off the bat.
They
They bought the wrong thing at the wrong time.
they bought a company that makes gas turbines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not
And
wind turbines, no. Gas
Not
turbines.
wind turbines. They're making money on their wind turbines.
Yeah, they are.
They're making money on anything that's renewable, but anything that is not renewable, they're losing money.
Well, if they know what they're doing, they're going to turn gas turbines into wind turbines. For sure.
That's
If they can make gas turbines, they can make wind turbines.
yeah. Okay, we're up to Wednesday, October 3rd,
we got another
and we've
picture
got an item from Renew Economy.
Yeah, those things look like wind turbines.
They do, don't they?
Huh? Amazing. Origin, which you will explain what it is,
Yep.
says solar cheaper than coal, moving on from baseload.
This, I think,
That's significant.
is probably the single most important article of the week. Origin Energy says the cost of wind and solar farms has fallen so far, it is now cheaper than the marginal cost of coal generation. The Australian company is moving from a concept of 24/7 baseload power, according to the head of energy trading and operations. Now, Origin Energy is a fairly sizable company in Australia. And what they're saying here is it's cheaper to build a new wind farm or to build a new solar farm than it, and get the energy from that, which means you're paying off the cost of construction, the cost of financing, and all the rest of that, than it is to buy energy from an existing, completely paid down coal-burning power plant. So why would you buy power from a coal-burning power plant?
Money talks, baby.
Well, you know,
It's happening.
they're moving away from
it's
coal.
economics.
Exactly. And of course, consumer energy in Michigan is doing the same thing. So it's not just Australia, it's the United States.
It's happening.
But
It's just happening.
What's happening here is new technology, the price of the new technology goes down as the technology is developed.
We're seeing that in big time.
In
Batteries,
in solar, in wind.
Mm-hmm.
The coal burning plants are based on old technology. They've got all kinds of problems with them. Putting carbon
And they've got
dioxide.
a lot of waste. Nobody even talks about the coal ash.
Yeah, well, they do in North Carolina now because it's all over their water because that hurricane. But you know, the problem of coal is it pollutes. So what are they doing? They're talking about carbon capture. That isn't going to drive the price of energy from a coal plant down. It's going to drive it up. Even as that technology is developed, the price of coal power will go up because it's on top of a non-developing technology.
Now, I think the whole idea of carbon capture is fraudulent.
Well,
I mean, it'll work, but they're looking to make money on it.
they're looking to make money, and it's not going to make money, I don't think,
I don't
because
think
it's
so.
a money loser in the end. Should we move on?
Yeah, we just touched base on this one already, so let's hit it again.
Yeah.
Yep, Tesla is gobbling USA luxury car market.
Yeah, this is
There's
from
8
Clean Technica.
charts and graphs in this article.
Zach Shahan, who is the editor of Clean Technica, loves electric cars. And so Clean Technica has got lots of articles about electric cars. Tesla increased its deliveries by more than 100% in the third quarter compared to the second quarter, its previous best quarter in history. So they've increased their production of these cars by 100% in 3 months. When have you ever heard of that kind of thing happening?
The next thing you're going to tell us what happens in 6 years.
In 6 years, its Q3 sales jumped from 321 vehicles to 83,500. The cars it is most directly competing with are in the luxury class. But, you know, it's competing with everything.
Well, a takeaway there is the charts demonstrate just how much Tesla must be demonizing the leading industry luxury brands.
Yeah.
Mercedes, BMW, Audi. And I got a quick, one of the 8 graphs, I've got a quick rundown. This is the September 2018 USA sales. Tesla had 38% of the market share. BMW had 20.
Yeah.
They're second. Mercedes had 15. Lexus had 10. Audi 9. Infiniti and Acura 4. What's going on here?
Well, Detroit is suffering badly. I mean, that's what's
more than
going on.
just Detroit. This
I
is
know that
worldwide.
it's worldwide, but you see, the thing is, it's clear. If you look at the worldwide trends, these companies have got to switch to electric. I mean, we've got whole countries that are committed.
Volkswagen just announced they're going to open up 10 plants producing electric cars.
That's right.
They know what they're doing.
One in North America.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, maybe
Thank
more.
you, Donald Trump. You know, they're opening a plant in North America, you know.
It's in Canada.
Maybe it'll be in Canada. Maybe it'll be in Mexico. You know, maybe Donald Trump could support a plant being opened up in Mexico, because it would mean that all those workers would stay in Mexico instead of wanting to come.
His wall, but he wants his wall.
Well, you know. Okay.
We got a picture coming up.
We do. And this is our last item. It comes from Clean Technica.
Those are Joshua trees.
They sure are.
Climate change will devastate national parks, impact electrical grids, and spur mass migration in the United States.
Yep.
We haven't talked about that one yet, and it's real.
For a Chinese hoax, climate change is having some very real impacts on the United States and its people. As the evidence grows that the Earth will continue to get warmer, the U.S. government continues to ignore the obvious.
Well, we mentioned this one. America's national parks will likely warm twice as much as the rest of the country.
Because they happen to be in areas that are more subject to warming.
Well, it explains that. They tend to be at higher elevations where the atmosphere tends to heat up more quickly. The electric utility industry is failing to properly account for the impact of higher average temperatures on power and on power outages.
Yep.
Okay, as the temperature rises, so does demand for electricity. Duh, you turn on your air conditioner. Now the final one is, and this is very important, we haven't touched base on this one yet. Over the next several decades, tens of millions of Americans are expected to migrate in search of higher ground. Well, it's happening already.
Well, you know, we talked about this last week. 18 inches of ocean level rise could put Miami out of business.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And they're well aware of it. They don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do. A seawall is not going to help, because the land they're on is so porous it just goes right through the ground. Now here's the problem. The worst case scenario that we talked about last week would have 18 inches happen over a course of about 12 years in the worst case scenario.
Yeah, it is.
And
that's pretty scary.
What that means is, let's just assume that Donald Trump manages to get reelected, so he's got 6 years left in office. He would have to face the fact that all that property he's got in Florida has got no value, because 6 years into an 18-inch rise that is going to destroy the value of Miami, it's going to be clear what's happening. People will know what's happening, and he's going to have to ditch all that property.
It could be like the Dust Bowl.
You know, but people are going to want to move away from there, and they're going to want to move away from Cameron Parish, Louisiana, where 80-some-odd% of the people voted for Donald Trump, and all of them have been told, you've got 20 years, 25 years to get out of here, because the ocean level is rising.
Well, there's a map on this article.
Yes.
And it shows a movement from the coasts to inland cities.
Yes.
All of the coasts, this happens to be pink, all the coastal cities are losing population. And the cities that are gaining population are places like Atlanta.
Yeah, well.
In the middle of nowhere. Atlanta's going to be a big winner.
If you count having a lot of people move in
as winning.
Okay. You should put us both up so
think-
that we can say
yeah.
goodbye, because we've got to
I
say
think
goodbye.
we're out of time.
We are out of time. So come back next time.
Y'all come back and see us, you hear?
Bye-bye.